We're going to go into some crazy detail, more detail than you've probably ever seen before, on the right leg and how it works in the golf swing. So this video is specifically to kind of break down some myths that are out there, to give you a good idea of how the right leg should work. And it's not necessarily to go out and work on every little tiny piece that we talk about, but just to really get an overall idea of how the right leg works throughout the swing. So we're going to take Adam Scott here, fantastic player, one of the best swings of all time, perfect model to talk about how to use the right leg. So let's start out by talking about just the overall setup. He's going to be setting up here with a long iron on the right, and the stance is going to be a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. I like that a lot because that gives you enough base, enough power to feel athletic, to feel like you can get some power into the swing, and then it also allows you to be narrow enough to rotate. So we don't want to get so wide that we can't move our body very well. Now in the backswing, what's going to happen is he's going to be pushing down and out this direction. Because of that, you know, we've probably all heard this. It's kind of a cliche saying, but Newton's law, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. It's definitely true. This is what you'll hear people talk about, ground force reaction sometimes. It's a big complicated way of saying you need to push down and out this direction, and the ground is going to push back up into you that direction. So again, pushing down and out kind of this direction with the right foot in the backswing, that's going to rotate the body open. So the harder you push with that right leg, the more the hips and the shoulders are going to rotate. So by pushing that direction, now you can see the hips have rotated that way, the right shoulder has rotated back that way. So again, the ground is pushing us up this way, it pushed the hip back and around, it pushed the right shoulder back and around, and that's going to allow him to rotate. If we're looking at it from the down the line view, we're going to see the exact same thing, pushing into the ground, hips rotated, shoulders rotated. There's the top of the swing. What we don't want to do is we don't want to push so much that we straighten the right leg. That's a common mistake that I see a lot of times. Whenever we straighten the right leg to where now instead of maintaining its flex, it's completely straight, well now all of a sudden this hip gets really high, and it tends to get our body, instead of leaning, you see he's leaning away from the target, it's going to tend to get our body leaning back this way, or the upper body leaning too far toward the target at the top of the swing. So we want to push into the ground, we want to rotate, but we don't want to lose all the flex in our right leg. That's going to be nice and loaded. Now in the downswing, let's pause it about halfway down, and we'll see from here he actually increases the bend a little bit. We're going to watch that right knee, let's go a little faster. We'll watch that right knee start to kick forward and rotate more toward the target. So if you can imagine, here's the golf ball. Imagine a little piece on the ground, something like a tee sitting on the ground about a foot and a half in front of the golf ball. That right knee is going to start to rotate forward toward that tee on the ground. So at the top of the swing, knee is pointing back to the right. You can see that if there was a laser shooting out of the knee, it'd be about right here. As he gets about halfway down, right there, now that knee is going to start to go a little bit more in front. It's feeling like it's going this way. Not quite to the extreme that I'm putting, but that's, again, this is a feeling that I'm talking about here to get that knee to rotate inward. And the same thing if we look at that same position from the down the line view. Now we can see right there would be the same spot, and that's starting to feel like it's pointing more here. Now from there, this is what I call our max lag position. So our club and our forearms have the sharpest angle of lag that they're going to have in the swing. From here, everything's releasing. We're letting everything go to what we call the straight line release, which is out in front of the target. We're letting everything go. If you can put a dot, this is the ball, a dot about 4 feet in front of that ball, everything's releasing to that point on the ground to allow us to let go of all those angles. So if we key in on the right leg, what's it going to do to help our hips rotate on through there? It's going to start to straighten up a little bit. So as we start to come through there, we can see a little bit of straightening with the right leg. It's also rotating forward. So right there at contact, we can see that rotated forward. Still got some bend in it for sure, but it's rotating and straightening very slightly. As we come on through even farther, we're going to notice that it's getting even more straight as we're coming through there. So it's not a big push off the right side, but naturally, because the hips are rotating, it's going to get a little bit straighter as it comes on through. So if you're looking at the full finish here, now we can see that the right leg has rotated all the way around, and it's fairly straight. So it's not that we pushed super hard with the right leg and jammed the right leg straight. but we're letting it rotate on through, and as it does that, it's going to straighten up a little bit slightly. Another key area to look at there when we're talking about the right leg is when does the right heel start to come up? And if we pay attention to his right shoe, the back of his right shoe, right about there, we can see the right heel barely starting to come up. And that's because the knee and the hip have both started to rotate forward. If we look at that same spot from here, there he is in the downswing. We can see that the belt buckle, right? The belt buckle, the right hip socket is starting to go forward, the right knee is starting to go forward, and from there, that's going to pull the right ankle up off the ground. We go to contact, we can see that that right ankle is definitely coming up off the ground. We do the same thing in this video. There's contact, it's already up off the ground. So you should have your right foot about an inch, maybe 2 inches off the ground as you hit the golf ball. That's going to allow those hips to come on through. It's going to allow that right leg to rotate on through. And then as we finish, sorry, this video doesn't go all the way to the end, but we can see, if we get to the last frame that this one will show, that we're going to start to see, so the spikes on the bottom of the right shoe will start to rotate up, and that's allowing the hips to come all the way on around. If we look at it from the face-on view, we're going to see very clearly that the right shoe has rotated all the way on around. We get all the way to the good finish position, and if you're looking at the spikes on his shoe, they would be facing to the person that's standing directly behind you, and that right hip socket is facing all the way toward the target. So that's the right leg in some really good detail. Follow those keys. If something sticks out in your swing that's very far off of that, I would recommend working on that right leg. Really let it to rotate through. A lot of times what I see people doing is instead of letting this right leg start to rotate on around, they'll feel like they pause the knee, have it facing the ball, and then it never goes any farther forward. We got to let that right hip come forward, that right knee come forward, the right ankle come off the ground to allow our body to freely rotate on through there. So good luck to you guys. I'll see y'all soon. All right, guys, so for those of you that are members of the website, I highly recommend working on the power turn, working on these hips going, rotating back in the backswing, and then on the follow through, keying in on those hips facing the target. So in the power turn section, I break that down for you step by step, and if you start from level 1, start working through those videos in order, you're going to build up a really good turn. That right leg is going to start to work better, and it all comes down to just following the drills in each level, in each section, and it's going to build it without having to worry about all these fine-tuned details. I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. All you have to do is just watch the video, go out and do the drills, and you're going to be playing better. Your legs, your hips, everything's going to be working better. So go ahead and start right now by going to the power turn section, click on video 1.1, and start working through your way through the videos today. Good luck, and I'll see y'all soon.